This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Dobbin welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, January the 9th, in the year 2023. Yeah, it was just that recent and not that long ago. The national championship game between Georgia and Texas Christian, as indicated by the graphic, had happened. It was a huge game. People figured that the national champion Georgia Bulldogs were going to win over the number 3 seed Texas Christian University Horned Frogs, but they didn't know by how much and all of that. So this was amazing how Georgia could do such a thing. And they repeated as national champion. So for the fourth straight year, the strange thing was the number 3 seed beat the number 2 seed in the semifinals of the college football playoff, but the number 1 seed won. So anyhow, SoFi Stadium in 2017 was given the chance to host in Los Angeles for the 2023 national championship game. So anyway, the semis were played as Texas Christian, who were 7-point favorite underdogs against Michigan, the team that went undefeated and finally slayed the ghost of Ohio State, took care of them by 51-48 in the high-scoring Fiesta Bowl ever, scoring 96 points combined. Whereas at the Peach Bowl, Georgia was down by 2 touchdowns to Ohio State and needed a 50-yard field goal missed by Ohio State right as the clock struck midnight on New Year's to win the game. Georgia looked impressive. Texas Christian was trying to become the first Big 12 team in the college football playoff era, which had been since 2015, to win a national title. In fact, they were the first Big 12 team to make a national championship appearance since Texas in 2010. So anyway, SoFi is, of course, the home to the Rams and the Chargers in the NFL. And actually hosted the Super Bowl in 2022. So Texas Christian and Georgia met 4 times before this game. They met at the Liberty Bowl, and Georgia had won every time. So it looked like, if you go from that perspective, Georgia is going to crush Texas Christian and Divine Powder. Anyway, the 2022 Texas Christian University Horned Frogs team was under the leadership of first-year head coach Sonny Dykes, and they were undefeated in Big 12 play and regular season play at 12-0. They actually lost the conference championship game to Kansas State, which kind of was a blow for their chances to make the playoffs. But fortunately for them, they did not falter that badly and were only given the number 3 spot. They faced Michigan, and as I said, they won 51-45, making the first Big 12 team to make a national championship since 2010. The Big 12 last won a national title in 2006 at the Rose Bowl when Texas beat USC in that famous game I talked about, won January 4th. TCU actually claims national championships for their 35 and 38 teams. So they're trying for their first national title in more than 8 decades. Georgia was the defending champions. They were undefeated. They only had to face 2 ranked FBS teams, so they had kind of an easy schedule in a sense. They crushed LSU in the SEC title game 50-30. They went to the semifinals against Ohio State and almost lost it, but the field goal went wide left for OSU. So Georgia was trying to become the first team to win back-to-back national champions since Bama in 2012. Georgia was the defending champ, and they also won in 42 and 80 for the national championship. So anyway, the game would start. It was going to be a good quarterback battle between Max Duggan and Stetson Bennett. Future NFL picks like Quentin Johnston, Steve Avila, and D. Winters starred for Texas Christian, whereas Broderick Jones, Jalen Carter, and Robert Beal would be the guys for Georgia. Georgia decided to kick off the first quarter, and Texas Christian would get the ball first. Unfortunately, though, they would have to punt. Georgia used 4 quick plays to get Stetson Bennett, the quarterback, to run the ball in. Touchdown, 7-zip. Texas Christian would fumble the ball, and then after that, it was a 26-yard field goal to make it 10-0. But Max Duggan ran a touchdown to make it 10-7, so the game was close. And then Georgia would get a wide open touchdown by Ladd McConkey to make it 17-7. After Texas Christian punt, Stetson Bennett ran the ball in for a 6-yard touchdown, 24-7 for the Bulldogs. After an interception, they did an 11-play drive, which led to a touchdown by Kendall Milton to make it 31-7. Texas Christian would be picked off again, and then a touchdown to end the first half scored, and Georgia was up 38-7. Did I mention that was just the first half? Anyway, Georgia got the ball back to start the second half. And then, after, in their second drive of the half, Georgia did get a touchdown as Bennett found Brock Bowers for a touchdown to make it 45-7. Texas Christian could not do anything, and they had to punt the ball. Another touchdown by Ladd McConkey made it 52-7. TCU would have a couple of drives go turnover on downs because they were trying to score some points. And unfortunately for them, there were a couple of big touchdowns for Georgia as Branson Robinson ran for 2 touchdown runs. They did have 1 missed extra point, if you must know. But fortunately for everyone, that was the end of Georgia's scoring. Unfortunately for Texas Christian, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't the end of it, but yeah. Texas Christian wished it was over. They were only down 10-7, and they gave up 55 uncontested points. Guess what? The score was 65-7. Like, that score you see if Georgia would take on, like, Vanderbilt, for example. But Texas Christian, a nationally ranked team, and in a bowl game, no less? That just doesn't make sense. Yeah, Georgia was that good, but to win 65-7? Well, it happened. And so the Georgia Bulldogs won their 2nd straight national championship. The 58 points would actually be a record for largest margin in a bowl game, much less a national championship game. But there was an instant classic for points just this past Orange Bowl when Georgia crushed Florida State, who were not really in it. Florida State had so many people lost because they didn't want to play. They didn't want to get hurt before the NFL draft, or they got injured, or they went through that stupid transfer portal, which is pathetic. Wait till after the season. Anyway, Max Duggan tried his best. He was 14 for 22 with a couple of interceptions, but Texas Christian could not run the ball or do anything against Georgia. Stetson Bennett was 18 for 25, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was that damn good. They didn't really have a running attack. The receiving, Brock Bowers, 152 yards. Ladd McConkey, 88. So, anyway, the stats were huge. Texas Christian did have the ball for 23 minutes, whereas Georgia had 35, so it wasn't as bad as it seemed to be. But yeah, the first downs, Texas Christian only had 9. Georgia had 32. Net yards, 589 to 188. The weird thing was that the Rams and the Chargers, the teams that shared the NFL teams that shared this SoFi Stadium, actually picked Bennett and Duggan. Bennett went to the 4th round to the Rams, and Max Duggan went 7th round to the Chargers. So, anyway, Georgia, look at Texas Christian would have a tough season this past season. They ended up being 5-7 and missed being bowl eligible. So anyway, Georgia in the 2023 season went on to an undefeated regular season and had a 29-game winning streak headed to the SEC title game against Bama, but they lost 27-24, which meant that Georgia would fall flat and fail to make the college football playoff. They would have to settle for the Orange Bowl against Florida State. As I said, Florida State was not in it. And Georgia won 63-3. So now that's the record for largest margin of victory in a bowl game. It was 65-7. It was 58. Now they turned it to 60. Well, Florida State was not in it. So anyway, ESPN did their stuff. So anyway, ESPN had Chris Fowler and Kurt Herbstreit do the commentary thing. So, what a national championship it was. What a disaster for Texas Christian, and what a great time for Georgia. To prove that their national championship win last year was no fluke. That they could do it again when they were given a chance. You gotta feel for those Horned Frogs. You have to feel for them. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.